This is Damon Fordham, Adjunct Professor of History at Charleston Southern University in the Citadel. And this morning, I want to talk about a lesson that I learned from a lady who passed very recently. Malikah Shabazz was one of the daughters of Malcolm X. And some 30 years ago, in 1991, I had an opportunity to meet her. You see, I read about this clipping where she was supposed to speak at the College of Charleston, and I liked what she had to say in this article, so I went to hear her speak. And after I heard her speak, I had a chance to sit down and talk with her. Well, one of the things she said was, I asked her about what did she think of, at that time you had these people with the Malcolm X baseball caps and the Spike Lee movie was coming out the next year. And she said that all of that was fine, but she wished that people would stop sitting around and waiting for the next Malcolm X. She added that Malcolm X left behind his teachings and writings and many books, and then at that time on videotape, and of course now they're all over YouTube and places like that. So if people want leadership like that, they could take the time to study what he had to say and put his teachings into action. And I really couldn't agree more. So after that, I pulled out my copy of this, a copy of Malcolm X, The Last Speeches, and she smiled and said, "You know, that's my favorite of one of these collections." And so she then signed and autographed the book for me, and it says here as follows: "To Damon, love, peace, and unity, Malikah Shabazz, 1991. So it's one of my prized possessions. But she then went on to talk about how she loved Greek mythology and the writings of Frederick Douglass. And so that was pretty much the end of that conversation, and unfortunately we didn't stay in touch. But I want to expand on something that she said. She said that people who are looking for the next Malcolm X didn't really have to look far, and that his teachings were still around in books such as this, as well as nowadays they're on YouTube, as well as all over the internet. So people could find this stuff pretty easily. But we also have to take into consideration, not everybody's going to do that. So what do? The people who are inclined to read such things as the writings and teachings of Malcolm X or Martin Luther King or Fannie Lou Hamer or Shirley Chisholm or Henry McNeil Turner or Frederick Douglass or people like that, if you love to read these type of things, it's up to you to go to where the people are on such things as social media or wherever you happen to greet people, and you to repeat some of these things in a way that the average person can understand, and that way you can get together with such people to organize and move forward on current conditions. Give an example of that. I spoke some time ago about how in East Africa and Kenya back in the 1920s, somebody who could read would go out among the natives of Kenya and out in the back areas in the back country, and they would read these stories to a group of young people that Marcus Garvey wrote in his Negro World newspaper, and they would then go throughout the village and repeat by word what was read out of the Marcus Garvey newspaper to spread his message out to the people of Kenya. And it was through that the great Kenyan leader Jomo Kenyatta was inspired to have the uprising that made Kenya independent from England in 1963. So those of you who like to read such things as the teachings of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Frederick Douglass and Fannie Lou Hamer or whoever, go out there and repeat those teachings to those who will listen. And then once they listen, encourage them to act upon what they learn. So that way, you wouldn't have to worry about the leader not being physically present. Their teachings will be there for you to listen, learn, and follow and put into practice. This is Damon Fordham.